everyone, welcome to the video, and today we're going to be going over some Pathfinder tips and tricks, as well as an overall tutorial and in-depth guide on how to play Pathfinder. So Pathfinder is probably my second most played legend. I love playing Pathfinder. He's definitely, in my opinion, the most fun legend to play. So I'm going to try to keep this guide, I'm going to keep it thorough. I'm going to go over the basics, and then I'm going to get pretty in-depth with how you should be using his abilities and whatnot. So if you're a basic player, this could help you a lot, as well as if you're a Pathfinder main and you're just looking for a little bit of extra tips that you might not have known, this is definitely the guide for you. So let's first get into his abilities. Right off the bat, his passive is Insider Knowledge. He's able to scan survey beacons and find out the next ring location. And then there is a grappling hook for his tactical, and he's able to grapple and launch himself. And then his Zipline, which is his ultimate. So basically all you need to know for the passive ability is just scan it all the time. And one thing to keep in the back of your mind is that, the actual, if you scan one beacon and then the ring closes, you're able to scan it again right after the ring closes. So it's ideal, to scan after the ring closes, like right when it closes, scan it. And if you happen to be in the next circle, you can stay there and scan it again. So you can scan the same beacon as many times as you need to, as long as you wait for the ring to close. You can't just scan it 20 times in a row and figure out where the last circle is going to be. But if you scan it, circle closes, you can scan the same one again. So let's get into his actual tactical ability, and as well as the way you should be using it. Or more importantly, just how to use it. Because there is certain ways to use it, but we're just going to talk about how to use it effectively. So, basically how you want to use it if you're running on flat land only. See how you want to extend your crosshair as far out as you can. As you can see right there. Oh my, see that's my stick drift. It just pulled me to the left. But yeah. So basically you want to put it out as far as you can, hit it, and then jump. It's all about timing. And every great Pathfinder main is going to have that timing down, pretty much like as just muscle memory. So they're going to have that timing down perfectly. And that's probably one of the most important things you could do, is just not mess up your grapples like I just did right there. Still wasn't bad, but you want to jump at the perfect time. So basically, I can't give you an exact time, but yeah. Oh, actually, I need gold helmet so this recharges faster. Okay, so right here, you're gonna see you hit, and then you jump. Once that grapple connects with the ground, that's pretty much when you jump. Don't anticipate it too much because you'll end up messing it up. It's all about timing. But you're not going to hop on Pathfinder and just expect to do a perfect grapple at all times. It's just not how it's going to work. But overall, if you just practice the grapple, you'll be able to do giant swings like that and get across the map extremely quickly. So another way you can use your grapple is on a ledge like that. As you can see here, if you use it on this, you can go even farther. You just got to make sure that it's not too high, because if you were trying to do it on a ledge like this and you were down here, you're not going to be able to jump as high. You can also use it like this. If you were to grapple onto that, you can grapple like that. I hit this thing on accident, but that pulls you far as well. So a lot of it has to do with actual angles. You can even grapple like there and make it up. And then there's a certain type of grapple that I can show you. It does have a lot to do with your actual camera angle. So say I want to go that way, or say I want to go that way. You can do it off of this. It's all about how you look. As you can see right there, it pulls me this way. And that one's a little bit more difficult, because if you look too far in one direction, it'll actually break your grapple. So you just want to be more careful with that. But yeah, as you can see, you can actually swing it. I hit that on accident, but you can swing it a certain way almost every time in case you want to go. Some people, for giant grapples, like a really big grapple, they'll actually do this strategy. Yeah, so right there, it messed me up a little bit because I hit this, and that messed up my grapple. But basically, for a really big grapple, and to launch yourself up to somewhere like say you want to get to here, but you can't reach it from here, you can always hit it like this. All you gotta do is that. So it'll actually bring you up. You actually don't jump with that strategy. It's a little bit easier if you don't jump, but it's all in the camera. It's all in the movement of the camera, because if I were to just do this without moving the camera, it's just going to launch me forward. However, if you turn the camera around, pan it to where you need to go, that's when you're going to be able to grapple that direction. So as you can see here, I'll do it one more time. You know, you just, and then boom, you're able to get up here. So I think I went over at least most of the grappling techniques. I can go over this one real quick, just being able to, you know, you basically just pick a side. You want to hit your grapple before it even turns blue, and then you can grapple pretty far. It's all about what grappling technique you should be using for every situation. Like if I was going downhill, you could use this one, but you're going to hit the ground a weird way. So that's not a bad option. I'd say use that technique when you're on flat ground mostly. You know what I mean? And you can use it on something like this. So if you're flat ground level, you could do this grappling technique, or the one where you grapple pretty much an eye level grapple, like this. Like if I was going to grapple this, it would probably give me a little bit extra range. We'll see. Yeah, see, it gives me a little extra range. So just keep that in mind, that you can pretty much grapple most objects, and if you just get the timing right of your jump, you will be able to throw yourself very, very far. And basically the only time you ever want to not use this technique is when you're trying to get up on high ground, because that's not going to work as well as if you were to grapple this. You'd be able to launch yourself very far. As you can, I'll show you right here, I'm going to grapple this and it's going to launch me. Okay, so basically when you are using a grappling technique like this, you want to hit the L1. You want to pull your movement stick back and then wrap it around forward. So it has a lot to do with the actual movement of both thumbsticks, depending on where you're going to go. But for a maximum grapple, for this one I would just probably use the jumping technique and then pull myself over. But a lot of Pathfinder mains, and just getting a nice grapple in general, if you were going to grapple on high ground, you can actually, the main technique I use for my actual thumbsticks is for my left thumbstick, the movement stick. I will grapple and then pull it back like that. As you can see, I move back. You can easily mess it up, but you move it back and then you bring it around, wrap it around. So that's probably the most in-depth I can talk about with the grapples. I hope that it helps at least some of you. Even if you're a Pathfinder main, maybe you weren't doing some of the grapples, like some of the more advanced ones like this one. Not a lot of people are able to do this one. Even I mess up on it sometimes. But nevertheless, that's pretty much all there is to know about grappling in terms of how to actually use it. But now I want to tell you guys how to use it. So it can be a little bit dangerous. Pathfinder is a very, very aggressive legend. And sometimes if you were to grapple in, you know, and you start shooting at someone and fighting, you're at a point right now where there's just no way out. So you kind of have to be very careful when you are grappling in. You usually don't want to just grapple in on a full team. That's always a terrible idea. Unless you're like a very, very great player, you're able to do that and get away with it. But for the general population and player base of Apex Legends, you will probably not be able to get away with something like that. You know, that's another grapple technique I haven't showed. You can use that. You can use ziplines to grapple, as well as if you just hit L1 on the actual zipline, you'll just attach to it. Without even pressing anything, it was attached to it. So let's get back to talking about the actual grapple and when to use it. It's ideal not to use it too aggressively, and what I mean by this is like grappling on a full team that you guys haven't even damaged yet. You're going to find yourself in a very, very terrible situation where you're just sitting there and the full team is just shooting at you. So you want to be careful and almost very tactical when you use your grapple, because you could find yourself in a situation where you're just stuck. And that's the last thing you want to be, is just stuck and out in the open, because then you're probably going to die. So the grapple itself is a great way of engaging fights, but it's also a great way of getting out of fights. So you just kind of have to gauge. If you're going in to a fight and it's a full team and you guys really haven't damaged them yet, I would usually try to save my grapple, you know, just in case things go badly, and then you can hit a big grapple and possibly get out of there. It's impossible to catch a Pathfinder if he's like amazing at his grapples. The only person that's catching him is another Pathfinder. So just keep that in mind, that you might want to just save the grapple when you're going in on fights. if you haven't actually done a whole lot of damage to the opponent in the first place. It's obviously going to be different if you down someone. Always grapple in. It reduces the time because they're going to try to stick the res immediately. So if you just grapple in like a madman and you fly in on top of the dude that's stood there, they're trying to res, and just laser him, you're going to be able to catch them while they're not expecting it almost every time. And Pathfinder himself does pair very well with a Peacekeeper, just because he's able to fly in, and if he bursts you with a Peacekeeper for like 100, you're not going to be doing too well. And he's able to rechamber it and just get a lot of damage off. So that's definitely the way you should be using his grapple and playing Pathfinder in general. So let's talk about his zipline. And this is the last thing I want to talk about. It's pretty straightforward. I'm going to talk about how to use it, what to do while you're using it, and when to use it. So, normal zipline right here. And if you were to take it and there's enemies, this is a strategy that a lot of people use. Obviously, you probably know about it. Just jump while you're on the zipline, reconnect to it. You don't want to do it too fast, because as you can see here, you know, you could do this, but you're going to move a lot slower on the actual zipline. Just keep that in mind. Whereas if you know, are very slow with it, hit it, you're going to be moving a lot faster on the zipline. For extreme situations, I would say spam both the square and X button, just so that you don't actually get hit. At this point, I'm basically levitating above the zipline, so it's going to be impossible to hit you. So that's the safest way of like navigating on a zipline. Just be careful, because they can be very dangerous if you just take a zipline straight forward. You know, it's not great. Like if you're just not jumping on it, you're going to get lasered off of it every time. And another thing for the zipline while pushing, there is a couple methods of using it. Okay, so I'm going to set up 2 ziplines, and I'm just going to show you guys. I'm not going to say anything yet, but we have this zipline. We're gonna assume there's a team up there. Okay, this isn't a great example just because it's a little weird, but there's that zipline, and then there's that zipline. One of these zip lines is going to get you killed, and one of them is going to help you succeed. So basically, this zip line right here will get you killed 99% of the time. If you're trying to run directly at the team that is on high ground right here, they're going to laser you. You're going to get destroyed very, very quickly. So instead, you use what is known as a vertical zip line. Right here, this is my best imitation of it in the actual firing range. But basically, if you go on this, they're not going to be able to hit you as easily. It's a shorter distance for the zip line, and you'll get on high ground a lot easier. But one thing to note, when you're pushing a team, you let your team take the vertical zip line, and then you yourself, since you're a Pathfinder, you have the grapple, you would grapple up a different way. This is obviously only for high grounds that are accessible by his actual zip, or grapple, my bad. But this ensures that at least 1 or 2 of your teammates are flanking. Whether you get up there first with your grapple, they're going to target you, and then your friends should be right behind you. Oh, whoops. And then your friends should be right behind you on the grapple. So it creates a little bit of confusion, whereas if 3 people were to jump up on the zip line, you know, they'll be able to take maybe one of you out, and the run itself will be a little bit ineffective, because by the time you get up there, they're going to damage you a little bit. So as Pathfinder, you either want to grapple before they start going up, get on high ground, and then have your teammates help you, or get up there right after your teammates get there, and then that way you'll be able to hit a nice little flank. So these are just the methods of actually pushing teams with the zipline. Also, another thing with the zipline, you can hover on the zipline. You don't have to move on it, so you can see right here. But that's very situational, only used when the server gets very small and like select ranked games. But that's pretty much all there is to know about, you know, Pathfinder and all of his abilities and how to use them. So that's pretty much it for today's video. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.